hurts and everything else in the mix, right? Last church I was at, I taught a college and career Sunday school, and whenever Rhonda asked me to speak tonight, I didn't know what to speak on, and the Lord just told me to go back to that. And I went back to it and I kind of tweaked it a little bit, so it's old but it's new. The title of it is Parking at Your Point of Pain. And we've all had a lot of pain in our life, right? Probably some of us going through some type of pain right now. It's just, you know, the Lord, He never said we wouldn't have troubles. He never said we wouldn't have pain. But what did He say? I'll be there with you. I will take you through it. So pain is defined as physical suffering or discomfort caused by illness or injury, or it's mental suffering or distress. Ahead. Y'all bear with me because I'm going to be going back and forth through some stuff on my phone and through here. Wikipedia says pain is a distressing bodily feeling often caused by intense or damaging stimuli. It defines pain as an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with or resembling that associated with actual or potential tissue damage. It motivates animals to withdraw from damaging situations to protect a damaged body part while it heals. I don't know. I have cat at home, and somehow or another he's got a big spot on the back of his head that's damaged up, and you know, whenever you go to try to do anything with it, and we're kind of the same way, aren't we? We get pain and we want to tense up, we want to pull back. He don't want me to touch that part of him or pet him, and we're that same way. There's a lot of times, like this says, it motivates the animals to withdraw. Well, it motivates us to withdraw. I know, I haven't probably dealt with quite as much like arthritis and stuff. I've had my point of different pains, and you know, those pains even keep us from coming to church at certain times. They keep us from going out with friends or going out with family and doing certain things. It's just something that just holds us in a position that honestly we're not meant to stay in. Pain is a large driving force one way or the other. It causes us to make decisions, good or bad. It changes our countenance or our mood. It can drive us or it can shut us down. Physical pains can also cause mental and emotional pains. I'm sure Brenda, with how she is, you know, she has her Parkinson's and doesn't feel good at times. So I'm sure that makes her sad. And sometimes we can even get in a depressed state whenever we have those things. It can cause us to make decisions, good or bad. I have, most of you know that my first husband and I divorced. Through the divorce, and then not long after the divorce, we found out that he had ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. And he passed away from that in January of 22. But through those things, I saw my children, the pain of both of those, drive them in different directions. I had 3 of them went more towards the Lord and dig into that. And I had another one who had already stepped out into a way of living that he was not raised to live, went further down that road. So it causes different emotional, mental, just reactions. What I'm about to tell you was in 2022, but I'm sure the data would be different and probably higher today. Between March 29th and April the 12th of 2022, the U.S. Pain Foundation conducted a survey of 2,378 individuals to better understand the public health crisis of chronic pain. Respondents included 2,275 people with chronic pain, which was 96%, defined as pain lasting 3 months or more, as well as 72 caregivers, which is 3%, and 31 healthcare professionals, which is 1%. Topics explored included types of pain, ability to work, patient-provider relationships, cost, treatment options, concern about side effects, mental health, COVID-19, mobility issues. Just that long list makes you want to retreat, right? The results underscore the devastating impact of chronic pain on quality of life. And quality of life is your everyday living. Right. It's what you can or cannot do. Mm-hmm. The key findings was, number 1, chronic pain has devastating consequences on function, quality of life, and mental health. More than half, 52%, said their average pain level is a 7 or more on a scale of 1 to 10. I know many of us have been to the doctor. What's your pain today? 99% said pain has restricted their ability to engage in routine activities like exercise, household chores, sleeping, and socializing. 95% had at least one comorbidity. More than 2/3, 71% of respondents said they considered themselves disabled. Only 18% of these were employed full-time. 60% said they feel anxiety-like symptoms daily or a few times a week. And a similar portion, 59%, feel depression-like symptoms daily or a few times a week. 79% said they feel stigmatized because of pain. And that stigma is where we're going to start. If you want to turn in your app or your Bible, if you have it, I know we've all heard about the prayer of Jabez. Going to 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verse 9 through 10. 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verses 9 and 10. This scripture doesn't even go back. It gives you a little bit at the beginning of it about some brothers and some lineage. And then it just all of a sudden skips to Jabez and doesn't even tell you where he fits into that whole thing, but then it goes into this. But God put it in there, so it's important, right? To teach us a lesson. Now Jabez was more honorable than his brothers, and his mother called his name Jabez, saying, because I bore him in pain. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. So God granted him what he requested. Can you imagine being a child named for your mother's pain. It had to be an extreme pain for her to name her child that. Birth, as most women know, is pretty extremely painful in itself. And I also know that names back in that day, and sometimes even today in that same culture, are given due to circumstances, due to what's around them, due to lineage, etc. But I just can't imagine naming my child because of the pain that I had birthing them. That is a stigma that was put on this child at birth. And I know that we go through life and there are different things that put stigmas on our lives and affect us. A child who is always told he's bad will come to think he cannot be good. A child who's told they're big or fat will either have weight issues, body issues, self-esteem issues. A child who is shielded from interacting with other children or spending time at another child's home will grow up to have anxiety issues with social situations, expanding out on their own whenever they get older. Many experience something of this nature. Many of us experience something of this nature in our childhood at some other time or another that affects how we move forward in our lives. It may not be as just a child. It could be later on whenever we get to be a teenager. I mean, we've talked about we've heard stories how many times about kids in high school. Oh, my math teacher or my drama teacher, my English teacher, somebody just totally just dogged them. College, same way. I can remember Stephen Curtis Chapman. Most everybody knows him, singer. I remember reading his story. He went to college playing his music. They told him he would never amount to anything. He was no good. But look how the Lord blessed him. Because he did not let that stop him. And that's the way that Jabez did. He did not let the stigma of his mother saying, "You gave me so much pain bringing you into this world that I named you pain." Because that's what Jabez meant. It means pain, sorrow, or sorrow maker. But he didn't let that stop him. He went to God. Increase me, Lord. Give me more. Bless me. He wanted more out of life than to sit in the stigma of the name given to him. And he looked to God. And I know that there's a lot of times that we get in ourselves so much in our pain, no matter the situation. I mean, all of these situations that I've talked about, it just, we get there and we want to sit there. We get so distressed over what that little thing is doing to us that in those moments we forget we have a Father that can totally take us out of that, bring us out of that, walk us out of that. I mean, think about the poem Footprints in the Sand. We've read it, we've seen it. God, why are there sometimes only one set of footprints? You told me you were going to walk with me. Where did you go? We get depressed sometimes like that, and we say, God, where are you? Where did you go? Sometimes he might look at you and say, where did you go? You're the one that walked away. You're the one that shut down. You're the one who shut me out. But in the footprints, he said, those are the times that I carried you. God carries us even when we don't know it. But isn't it great that we have a Father who wants us to look to him and say, will you carry me? And this with Jabez, I mean, it's a whole other thing. Like I know Rhonda has mentioned even Hagar, Sarah's mistress, her maid. You know, Jabez did the same thing basically that she did. He looked to God. And we don't have, much more of the story. But we know our God, right? Hagar was the first one to give God a name. El-Roi, the God who sees. He sees us and he knows all of us even before we're born. Psalm 139 and 14, we all know this one. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works that my soul knows very well. But it goes on. Have you read past that? The end of it that I'm going to read you. The first time I ever read it totally blew my mind. Verses 15 through 18. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance, yet unformed, and in your book they all were written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. How precious also are your thoughts to me, O God. How great is the sum of them. If I should count them, they would be more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with you. The thoughts that God has towards us are more than the number of the sand that we can even hold in our hand and count, that we can go to the seashore and count. To think that God, you think about all the people we have in this world. That is a lot of people to have that many thoughts about. That is how big our God is. And that amazed me whenever I first read that several years ago. I had read it before, but whenever you're going through, and I was really truly going through a hard time in my life, and I read that, and it shut me down, not in a bad way, but I think I was sitting at my desk at work, and I just started bawling. Because we don't deserve what God gives us. But we're in that pain. We're in that place that we can't get ourselves out of. And then it even talks about your book. All of my days are already written, even though I've not had any of them. I've not lived any of them. There are several examples in Scripture where pain of some sort could have stopped one in their tracks. And they could have never allowed God to move them into his will that was made for their lives. Where are you stopping God in your life? Is there something more God's calling you to? Something more God's asking you to do? Something that the pain that you're going through right now might help somebody else? Starting in Genesis chapter 37, we see the story of Joseph. It's probably one of my, I know the whole Bible should be your favorite, and it kind of is, but I have tons of favorite stories in Scripture. And Joseph is just one of them. And it's a long story. Several chapters long. But we see him starting as a 17-year-old teenager, appearing to have a good life with a large family. I have a large family, close family. I know most of you, I know the Blackwells have a big, large family, close. And he's loved greatly by his father Jacob. And we know the story of Joseph and the coat of many colors that Jacob gave him. But one day they were out in the field, and Joseph shared a dream he had with his brothers. They didn't like it. They were already jealous. And that jealousy just really turned to anger. Because that dream was, basically he had a dream of them bowing down to him one day. And obviously they didn't want to bow to their little brother, who was loved more, you know. So then they plotted to kill him. One of the brothers said, no, hold on, let's not do that. Let's sell him. So, you know, they sold him and took his coat, killed an animal and put the animal's blood all over it, and told Daddy he's dead. So Joseph went through being enslaved, but he gained favor with Pharaoh. So things started looking up, right? Then they went back down in the hole because Pharaoh's wife wanted him. So she told a lie to cover her indiscretion, got him thrown in prison. Things really look bleak, right? Then Pharaoh's butler and cupbearer were put in prison with Joseph. Well, they had dreams. Joseph told them what their dreams meant. Well, they were getting out, and he said, remember me when you get there. Well, cupbearer got killed, hung, but the butler went back to serving Pharaoh. And I'm sure Joseph thought, well, I asked him to remember me, but he truly just forgot me. He could have just stopped, right? At the lowest of the low, and I'm sure back in those days, these prisons were not nowhere near what the prisons are we got today. They're living in a hotel today compared to probably what they had back in Joseph's day. It's like a dungeon, probably. 2 years went by. Pharaoh come out and said, I got a dream, I can't find anybody. Butler goes, whoo. They brought him in. And you know, through all of this, Joseph could have stopped. I think about everything Joseph went through, just even as a young boy. He could have literally stopped. He could have had the worst stigma on him. He could have had the worst thoughts. He could have ran away and done something on his own and just totally lived another life like the prodigal son and just never come back. but God had a plan. And he trusted that God had a plan. Through all of it, he knew God was with him no matter what. Then from Joseph's story, we got the Israelites. Being rescued from Egypt. To me, this is the epitome of looking God in the face and say, even though you say you're out for my good, I don't trust you. I don't believe what you say. I don't see any way this is coming out to my good. Why am I here? We say that sometimes, right? God, why have you put me here? Why have you let this thing happen to me? Why? Job, why? That is, the Israelites coming out of there is definitely, to me, a big situation of people wanting to stay parked where they are. They were so blind and so stuck, they couldn't even see they were walking in circles. For 40 years. They didn't even realize that the clothes on their back and the shoes on their feet weren't wearing out. They were just complaining about the food they were given. Oh, I want the leeks and the garlic and the onions. Not this sweet bread that we're having to make and having to do and everything else. They just wanted to go back, never forward. They just wanted to go back to the pain. What do we say? Woe is me. Bless me, Lord. So how long will you allow your pain or your situation to keep you parked in the same spot? Are you going to be like the Israelites, just walking around in circles? Circling your pain, circling, never trying to find that way out. How much do you want to continue to complain instead of reaching out to God to increase your territory and bless you and ask Him for more and ask Him to be more? Not just settle and worry about self. Because that's what we do a lot of, right? David was a troubled man. He had everything going for him though, right? I think about him whenever I get into this, and if you go into the Psalms, you can read the different Psalms, and even there's one verse in 1 Samuel, I believe it is, where David even encourages himself about the Lord. He got so distraught. I mean, this was a man, his own son was after him to kill him. In Psalm chapter 3, Lord, how they have increased who trouble me. Many are they who rise up against me. Many are they who say of me, there is no help for him in God. Selah. But you, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory, and the one who lifts up my head. I cried to the Lord with my voice, and he heard me from his holy hill. Selah. I lay down and slept. I awoke, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people who have set themselves against me all around. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God, for you have struck all my enemies on the cheekbone. You have broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing is upon your people. Selah. Psalms chapter 6, starting in verse 2. Have mercy on me, O Lord, for I am weak. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are troubled. My soul also is greatly troubled. But you, O Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, deliver me. O save me for your mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of you. In the grave who will give you thanks? I am weary with my groaning. All night I make my bed swim. I drench my couch with tears. My eye wastes away because of grief. It grows old because all my enemies. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity, for the Lord has heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord has heard my supplication. The Lord will receive my prayer. Let all my enemies be ashamed and greatly troubled. Let them turn back and be ashamed suddenly. And sometimes our enemy is ourselves. Most of the time, our enemy is ourselves.
Yeah.
The devil gets in our head and uses our thoughts to keep us bound. He uses our thoughts to make us think that we're okay. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to get too emotional on you. I have a son. Who's just about dug himself a hole so deep he just about doesn't know how to get out. He knows who the Lord is. He knows what he needs to do to reach out, call on the Lord. But because of situations in his life, he wants to stay parked right where he's at. The devil wants to keep us bound. The devil wants to use our situations that God allows and that the devil creates in our lives as well. And just to keep it rolling and to keep us moving down that road of loss and despair. To get to the point where we think we can't return. The prodigal son figured it out. He said, I'm stupid.
Yeah.
The servants at my father's house are living better than this. But we don't have to be that. We're a child of God. And I even put in here, he wants us to focus so we don't move ahead to anything good for God. So we need to tell the devil what Joseph told his brothers. What you meant for evil, God used it for my good. He used it for our good.
Right, right.
Because that bowing down that they did to him wasn't just bowing down, it was thankfulness, because God used all the turmoil in Joseph's life to bring him to a point to where he saved nations.
Right.
A ton of people. So what is God wanting to use you for? What blessing are you missing out on by parking at your point of pain and not moving on? Not calling on God to say, help me. Because we can't do it on our own. I remember my daddy. He started work for a company when he was 21. He worked for him for 33 years. He walked in one day and he reached to turn his computer on, and his supervisor said, Wayne, can you come with me? He said, we'll let you get your stuff later on, but we're having to lay you off. My daddy was the only one who knew how to do his job. So the lady, he had a couple of people that were under him. So the lady that they decided that was under him, to let her do the job without any more pay, my daddy was gracious enough to answer her phone calls to help her out. But that day, he said he didn't get mad. He grabbed his stuff, walked out to his little pickup truck, hopped in. And from what I remember, he said he didn't even have the radio on that morning going to work. But as soon as he started it up, his favorite singer, Janet Paschal, was on singing, God Will Make a Way. And he came home that day, and from there forward went about it. My daddy was in his late 50s, mid 50s. And they went and he also had gone back and got a college degree after he'd had me and my sister. And he'd worked his way up. So my daddy had too much knowledge, too much experience, too much education, and was too old for too many people to hire him. I was pregnant with my daughter. The layoff was going to happen. But you know, you like to be there at the hospital when your children have children. The first job that my daddy could get to hire him was down at the business office at the hospital. He didn't work there very long. Somebody else had hired him up at a marble company, and he worked there for several years. But God will make a way. If my daddy hadn't been working at the hospital, he'd have never been able. That was exactly where I had my daughter at. And I had her during the time he was working at the hospital. I know you can look at that and say, well, that's nothing big. Well, to go see your child and see your grandchild, that is something big. And she was a big, grand, glorious entrance, let me tell you, because we didn't find out what she was going to be. Y'all saw her Sunday morning. I had always prayed for a little girl. I found out what the boys were going to be, and then I said, nope, I'm believing in God that He's given me this little girl. Never even picked out a boy's name. She made the entrance into the world. Her daddy went out into the waiting room bawling tears. They all thought something was wrong, and he just said, "It's a girl." So, but even in the smallest of things that we think, God makes that way and is there for us to walk us out of our pain. That point where we just want to sit and go no further. God is there,
Yes.
waiting. And I'll tell you another little thing that happened tonight. Sorry, I'm about done. Y'all know about a year ago, we had somebody run into the back of us on the way to church. We were on our way to church tonight, and BAM! So, got hit again.
Oh, no.
And I sat there and I thought, I'm supposed to teach. So we got out. It was 2 young girls in the car behind us. It was not a scratch on either vehicle. Not a dent, not a scratch, not a thing. Because I was thinking to myself, we're going to sit here and we're going to have to wait for the police to get here, and they're going to have to do all this, and I'm going to have to call Byron, and he's going to have to do whatever. And I'm just like, Lord, please don't. Y'all go out there to my car and see on the back, she had a gold car, I think either some dirt or something, but I don't know. But even in the little things, God is there. The last thing that I put, choosing to stay in your pain is refusing to be blessed. And more importantly, it's refusing to be a blessing. Because somebody today needs you to get past that pain so you can help them walk closer to God.